Alright, hello everyone. We are Nerds in a Box again. This is episode 5.
Yes.
So, yes, thank you.
Yes,
So this is episode 5. This is all about board games tonight. Tabletop games, board games. And we're going to be talking about board games that are based off of intellectual properties, comics, movies, TV shows, things like that. We're going to be talking about that. But first, we wanted to welcome you guys. I am John Dwyer.
Tessa Barlotta.
Dan Kiefer.
And with us tonight is our special guest, Kyle Wilkerson.
Howdy.
Woo. He will introduce himself more in like a minute because we
because John can't make a schedule.
I can't. But mainly because I wanted to announce first that we are now on iTunes and Pocket Cast.
Yeah.
Cool.
We made it. We're top of the world, ma. We made it. Top of the world. That's a good movie reference.
Yep.
So we are now on iTunes and Pocket Cast. We're working on getting on Stitcher. So subscribe to us there. We'll post a link with this. If you scroll down, you'll also be able to see our post from a few days ago about it. So subscribe to us, like us, follow us. Thank you so much. We're also getting close to 500 likes. So that's a big thing.
Ooh.
As of this current filming, we are at what, 479?
Something like that.
Pretty
That's
close.
what you said.
Yeah.
Yep, we're getting, thank you, Kyle. We're getting close.
He's here to tell us that we're
So-
right.
That's why we have him on.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we're getting close. And so when we hit 500 likes, I believe we decided that we're going to do something a little special.
Yes.
So
We
keep your
don't
eyes
know
peeled for that.
yet. Okay. We totally know what we're gonna do.
Yes. So we'll be announcing what we're going to do in a little bit. So thank you so much for liking our page, for being a part of this. This has been absolutely wonderful, and we're so grateful.
Yeah.
So, Kyle.
Hi again.
Hi again, Kyle. How are you?
Hey, pretty good.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. So, Kyle, you're a local tabletop/board game enthusiast.
That's
And
fair. It's
I was
accurate.
going to say, and friend of the show, so I guess I don't really know how best to do this, so why don't you go ahead and give your own hello and about yourself.
Sure. Like you said, I do tabletop games, especially. That's my
Yes.
sort of area of interest. Whether it's role-playing games, board games, war games on the tabletop, it's rolling dice or flipping cards. That's usually where you'll find me at the local game store or comic book store. So all those sort of things. Specifically, I typically play War Machine or Infinity. I've dabbled in 40K and Warhammer, Magic, Pokemon back in the day. You know, got to get into it young.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Bringing it
So,
back.
all that sort of stuff.
All right. So, awesome. Wow, that was a point. I was going to say, wow.
Your approval really
There-
matters.
I know.
There are no words for how
Good say.
awesome that was.
Yes. Well, you're joining us specifically tonight because, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we're going to be talking about tabletop games that are based off of IPs, intellectual properties. So, I guess...
It's where our worlds collide.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess, do one of you guys want to talk about what we mean exactly when we're talking about intellectual property?
Yeah. Tessa?
Oh. Well, thanks. Intellectual property, at least for our purposes, is like a world that already exists, like Star Wars, Walking Dead, the DC Universe, the Marvel Universes, that they translate over into a board game. Like, there's 9,000 versions of Monopoly. There's even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Monopoly, as if they were ever going to live on Park Avenue.
It's like there's the sewer under Park Avenue,
Yeah.
the sewer under...
Like, if there was a Park Avenue of sewers, they would find it.
Exactly.
But yeah, so they, especially as these intellectual properties become more popular, they do kind of get into everything, as it were. So they're kind of taking the board game world a little bit. Because it used to be, like, I guess more of an underground, as far as, like, I've perceived it. It was more of just, like, people who played them knew, like, about all these board games, but now, like, these, like, major intellectual properties that are based on movies are getting into it. More people are getting into not just the main ones, but like the ones that people don't know about as much.
Well, yeah, you're seeing how bankable something like Avengers is.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and at the same time, games that aren't based on IPs like Settlers of Catan are blowing up and becoming bankable.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're finding them at your Target. You'd never do that 5-10
Yeah.
years ago. So those, with them both getting big at the same time, it only makes sense that they're crossing over and showing up on, you're seeing the IPs in the board games or on the tabletop or role-playing games based on these things that aren't just made by some guy in a basement, that these or big companies investing in it and want to see it succeed.
Especially going off of that, like the kids, like, they're little kids that usually, like, that's where you start playing board games.
Oh yeah.
Because you play it, like, as a family. And if these kids are going to be like, well, I want to play a video game by myself instead, parents can easily be like, well, I got this new Avengers board game or this new Firefly board game. And they're like, all right, I'll play that.
Yeah.
And, like, it can easily, like, be like, okay, cool. This is how we're going to get them in.
Yeah.
I think it's also kind of nice, like, as the world gets more digital, I thought, like, tabletop games would be, like, super dead by now, but they're not. It's a thriving business.
Yeah.
We're always fearing it. We're always waiting for the boom to drop.
Yeah, for that bubble to burst.
But we've been
yeah.
waiting for 10, 15 years, so maybe it won't happen.
Now, good job, Kyle.
That was
Now that you've jinxed it,
Now that
where's
was
the
it.
wood?
Oh,
We have this cardboard
man.
around us.
Ugh. Well, in the past, it seemed like, I mean, I was younger, granted, everything seemed more difficult to play, like, for games, but it seemed like board games in the past seemed like they had a lot of rules, it was complicated, and then you still have those games that like to be complex, and if you take the time to get into it, it's a really rich experience, but you also have a lot of games lately that seem to be more accessible to everyone.
And that's what you expect from the IP games,
Exactly.
right? You want, if someone's
Yeah.
picking up their Guardians of the Galaxy game or their Firefly board game, you want them to be able to play it without having a ton of prior knowledge about either the IP or how to do board games. You want them to be comfortable with that sort of thing. And I think that's kind of where it's failed in the past. You see Star Wars card game from 15 years ago didn't make it very long. It's still around today in like an underground sense, but it only was on shelves for 2-3 years, I think. And it's, you know, sometimes these hard games, I mean, Instant Magic has been working to make the game more accessible for their 20 years of existence. So these games are hard to get into sometimes, whether it's card games or role-playing games. If you don't have a group, you're not going to pick that up and start doing it. So board games are a nice, easy entry. It's something you pick up, you have everything you need in a box, and you can take it home and read the pamphlet and work it out with your friends, and even if you play it wrong, you're at least playing it all wrong together. So,
Which,
House rules, yeah.
Everybody's done that. Everybody's started playing a game. They realize, like, halfway through, it's like, oh, we've been supposed to be doing this. We'll do it next time. And then you just keep playing because you're having a good time with your friends.
And the other thing is, you can get those games at your stores now, at these big box stores like Walmart or Target. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the local game store. I'm a huge fan of finding a place with tables and terrain and rolling dice and meeting people, and that's why I play the games, is the social aspect. But for people getting into it, you know, accessibility, Target and Walmart are awesome. And you're finding, and they're willing to take the risks on these brands because they can sell the IP, and that's why you're going to pick it up off the shelf. They're not going to pick it up because it's a card game or it's a miniatures game or something.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's moving more towards, like, because at least in the 90s, to me, it was more like trivia-based games that were what
that's the joke.
But yeah, but like now we're moving away from that because like everybody's got lives and stuff they need to do. Not everybody knows about Darth Maul's second cousin from the comic 5 years ago. So like they would prefer something that everybody can sit down and play without having all this crazy prior knowledge.
Yeah.
Which is also nice.
And then having the knowledge is rewarding. So one of the big ones right now is a Star Wars X-Wing game. That's blowing up the last 6 months to a year.
Oh yeah.
You're constantly seeing releases from it. It's totally bankable.
Oh yeah.
And it's cool. Like you're playing with X-Wings, and I remember playing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter video games back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Everyone loves the trench run. Like it's awesome stuff. And so the thing about that now is, I'm totally blanked.
That's like,
Nice.
I believe in you.
No, I went.
You
forgot that.
You jumped for it. You went for it. I like it.
But that's a miniatures game. Like selling a miniatures game to someone is tough.
Yeah.
Like
That's so true.
it's you have to buy all these things, and then you gotta paint it, and then you have to have dice, and you have to go hang out with some smelly neckbeards. And as one of the smelly neckbeards, I know how hard it is to get people into the store sometimes, and that's why we keep fearing that boot dropping, is people are going to play Destiny instead, right? So, but people are willing to go buy X-Wing off the shelf at Target. They want to try it out. And you know what? They open it up and find a solid game that looks good, and they can figure out in an hour or two and play with their friends. And if they never take it to a store and enter a tournament and never do anything with it, them and their dad, they can play at the dinner table and have a good time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also opens up that door too. Like even if they've been hesitant to go into a comic book store or game store, and they've been in there and they're like, oh, they're playing that game that I got from Target, whatever, and then they might be more likely to join in and then become a part of that wider culture, which is also
awesome.
super awesome.
Exactly. And I think, certainly the name branding helps helps too, because if you see like.
Yeah.
You know, you see an X-Wing game, you're immediately gonna be like, "Ooh, what's that about?" Like, you're at least gonna pick it up and
check
look.
it out,
and,
yeah.
you're at least gonna look it up and look in the back and see what it's about. Like Firefly, I mean, that came out, and I think you and I.
Oh yeah, we went crazy.
Yeah, we like went crazy, and we looked at it and we are like, "Oh, this sounds so awesome!" Yeah, so we bought it because it was Firefly.
Yeah.
And we'd heard that it was pretty good.
It's a pretty good game.
So,
No, it's a lot of fun.
like,
I enjoy it.
why do you think it is that lately IPs have been translating well? Do you think that there's something about it, or do you think like there's a reason why certain translate well and like some don't? Do you think there's like any reason behind that?
I mean, IPs have always been around in the board game world. It just recently, I think it's been a domino effect. More and more IPs have been realizing, hey, there's a good market in board games. Like you said before, Star Wars, they've been doing it for so long. Ever since like the first couple movies came out,
they're the best IP at doing it.
Exactly. And like, so they've been constantly at it. And they honestly, I feel like they finally hit their stride. I mean, they've been doing well. I know Star Wars Epic Duels is a game that like we play all the time. But seeing like having other companies see them do that, I think slowly progressed them and got them closer and closer into try and find that niche game for them. Like I think Sorry and Trouble and Monopoly, they've always had like their variations. Because I know I had Pokemon Sorry for the longest time.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's so great. It's just Sorry with like Pokemon characters drawn on the box. It's literally no difference. But you get it anyways because I was a huge Pokemon fan. I got the games, I got that. So they've always noticed it. It's just nowadays people are buying more board games, so they have more freedom of what they make their IP used for.
I think there are game companies out there, especially Fantasy Flight Games. That's the big one that everybody goes to with their IP. It seems like they have rights to IPs for Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Conan, just going straight down the line. They have tons of stuff, and Cthulhu. They have all the Cthulhu stuff. Like if you,
I forgot about
so much.
And again, they just flood the market with this stuff. But Fantasy Flight has shown a successful record with all these other games. They've taken these IPs and they've made a good Game of Thrones game, or at least an enjoyable one. They've taken 40K, which it's a little different from the IPs we're talking about. It's coming from the gaming world, but they've translated it into things and actually made money for those companies. And you see success. Somebody's successful at other people's franchises. You're much more willing to hand over yours to them.
True.
Oh, Jarvis checking
Oh,
out.
excuse me, Jarvis. Well, anyway, continue.
And then there's other companies aside from that are doing well. Or even you're saying, hey, I just want to get in on this train. It's I'm seeing the success other people are having, and people you've seen people do it, try to force it before and push their IP out on everybody. The one that I always laugh about and remember is The Matrix. It's after the Matrix, and the first Matrix, awesome movie, probably one of my favorite sci-fis. Second and third, not so much. And then they tried to push the whole universe out there. Animatrix, and then they tried to make the MMO. They tried to make board games and card games of it, and nobody cared. No, they forced it down your throat, and it wasn't good. And you have to manage your IP, and you can't just sell it off to these other companies and have them try and run with it.
I think it's also like putting your IP in a direction that will benefit it. I can't imagine what a Matrix board game would look like. Just like I can't imagine
I can't either.
what a Terminator board game would look like, unless it was like you took like Risk or like some kind of apocalyptic game and maybe do it that way.
I could see a Terminator board game.
Okay, maybe now that I'm talking about it, I can see it. But it's just I feel like only certain IPs work for it, and maybe now that's why they're so popular, is because these certain IPs that would work in this area are coming into vogue at this moment. Maybe?
Or even that you find you have to be smart with what type of game you pair with your IP. Like Firefly is cool because it's an exploration game.
Exactly.
You are flying around, you're collecting contracts, and you're doing jobs. And Firefly's all about doing the job, right?
Yeah.
So and and they knew they had to hit the home run with the art, and they did that.
Oh yeah.
So
the art's really great in that game.
Yeah, it's the best part of the game. So you need to know what to pair with your Game of Thrones. Total political element to it, right? The board game is all about that. It's all about it's risk with diplomacy built in, where you're trying to argue with this and convince your buddy to stab the other buddy in the back instead of you.
Actually, sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I haven't played that one.
A little dry. I mean, it's Game of Thrones.
Right.
It's just like Game of Thrones. It's gonna take forever. It's gonna need way too many people around the table to play it, and you're gonna feel betrayed at the end.
Is it done yet?
But that's
Everyone's gonna die.
but isn't that what you?
Of course.
That's
But
what you
isn't that
expect
want
from
a Game of
it.
Thrones game?
That's what you
Yeah.
expect. Yeah.
Well, that was also interesting, because the new Firefly Clue just came out, which I was like, Firefly Clue, how does that even work? But then I was reading up how the game is played, and it actually works perfectly for the universe. Like, it's which one of these crew members took River to where with what weapon.
Okay.
And so you still have to, and it doesn't include Simon, of course. It's the original Firefly crew. And so you have to figure out which one of them, what weapon, and then, there's the expanse of the universe to go to, which actually works for the universe that's created.
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting avenue for that.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important. Is in the past we had like all these trivia games. The one I remember is like Harry Potter, like Trivial Pursuit when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
And there wasn't much to it other than like you walk around and then like you answer Harry Potter questions. And I think part of why they're doing so well now is because they're being made by fans, and so they're understanding what the concept, what the whole point of the show is, and they're translating that into a game form.
I think it's a huge one.
To what everyone's really expecting the game to be, and that's why it's being received so well. And you were actually telling me earlier about how some IPs translate better because of the fact that they focus more on the world instead of actual like characters in the show.
I did say that.
Yes, you did. I know. I mean, they weren't here, but we were talking about it.
I think it's a good point, though. I think that the stuff you find that translates better is typically stuff with richer worlds and richer universes, and where you're focusing on where am I, what would I do in this situation, and you can be a little more immersive than just the characters. If you're trying to focus on specific characters or specific plot lines, you often get dragged into being railroaded, and certain things have to happen a certain way.
Yeah.
And you can even see that within games. Like sometimes the IP hurts the game. Like going back to the Firefly game, I can see it right in front of me, so I'm gonna bring it up. If the Reavers get you and you don't have River, it's really bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's a brutal way to have a component to build into a game, but it's completely plot appropriate. So, and I think what you were bringing up about the setting being important is maybe why Star Wars does so well. Star Wars Expanded Universe is massive.
Oh,
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten lost on Wikipedia?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Too bad it's like
hours of your
all
life are going
non-canon.
away.
Or just like walk by the Star Wars aisle in any like indie
Oh, yeah.
section of the comic book
Oh,
store.
yeah.
Like all the titles like you never knew existed is insane.
Oh yeah.
Insane.
So and that's probably why it's successful, is they can build it in anywhere. They can go anywhere. They can tell whatever story they want to tell, or build it whatever circumstances and conditions, and it works within the universe. And you're still doing Star Warsy stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at Knights of the Old Republic on the video game console.
I love Knights of the
I actually
Old
just
Republic.
picked that game up not too long ago to replay it on
Oh
the
yeah, I
Xbox.
bought it 3 times.
But yeah, no, going back to what you're saying about it being world immersive, like I completely agree. One of the reasons why is I think I love playing as multiple characters. And if there's a game that's driven solely on like character base, you don't necessarily have as much freedom. I know like a lot of the Flying Frog games or Arkham Horror, you'll see like at least like 8 to 12 different characters you can choose from to play for the game, and each time it's about the world. There's a game called Last Night on Earth, which is literally you versus a bunch of zombies, and one person actually gets to control the zombies, and it literally puts you in a zombie horror movie because of that immersive world that they created for you, and I love that. I thought you hit it right on the nose when you said that.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's kind of where we have a disagreement on Legendary, because we were talking before the show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it up now.
Exactly.
All right.
So
We'll go into examples of
so
Bring it on.
games.
So why don't you explain what Legendary is?
Alright, Legendary is Marvel's deck building game where you pick a bunch of heroes to fight a villain. It's pretty simple. For those of you who do not know how a deck building game works, is you usually get like a set of cards from a deck laid out. You have a starting hand, and you use those points from your hand to purchase cards that the deck reveals. You take those cards, and they become part of your new deck. So throughout the game, as you purchase more and more cards, your deck grows, thus deck builder. And you use that new deck to defeat the villain. Pretty simple.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works.
So in Legendary, where Legendary is based on Marvel, right?
Yes.
So where's the Marvel component? Where's the IP coming in on the deck builder?
That's character based. Yes.
Okay. So but specifically, you're building your deck out of different moves and like scenarios from characters, right?
Correct.
You're picking Hulk Smash to go with. I think you had Jean Grey.
Yeah, Jean Grey.
remember
I had
what
like her
it was.
psychic blast.
Yeah,
things
stuff
like
like
that. Yeah.
Or Hawkeye shooting an arrow because that's what
Yeah.
Hawkeye does.
Oh no, it was probably like a trick arrow. Let's be real.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or Iron Man, shooting lasers out of his chest.
Repulsor,
Or Unibeam.
Exactly. But and you're fighting against scenarios that you're building out of the deck box, right? So
Yes.
you have different mastermind villains you're going up against, and
Mhm.
so it's very much the IP. It's all over. We fought.
Red
Red
Skull, the Savage Land Mutants,
I think Brotherhood was there.
Brotherhood, and Hydra.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they were trying to, and so they were trying
Battle
to,
of all battles.
Yeah.
so they were trying to do the cause the superhero civil war.
Okay.
So
So the Mad Libs part's really cool. You can get into, you start picturing this epic battle in your head of how all those things are different. Tessa's sitting there, whoa, like,
Yeah.
that's a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the game ended in 8 to 10 turns, and I played like 3 Hulk cards and 1 Iron Man, and it didn't
Yeah.
feel like I was trying to be these characters. It didn't feel like
Right.
I was these characters or that I was doing their
Mhm.
special thing. I didn't know who I was. Half the time I'm Shield agent or something, I guess.
Well, I mean, the way that the game is based around is the fact that you are an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. trying to assemble, like, a team to fight the villain. You're not necessarily playing as those heroes. So the way that I like to play the game is, like, you theme it out. As much fun as it is just to do, like, random cards, because, like, that does make the game fresh. You can pick which villains would technically go with the other villains. Kind of pick heroes that would go with other heroes or that would work well with other heroes. Pick a harder villain or make it harder on yourself by like adding extra things to make it more intense. Doing those features while keeping it in the mindset that you're trying to coordinate all of these heroes and then watching them do those different abilities to fight the different villains is kind of how I make that game a lot more enjoyable rather than just being like, now I'm this character, now I'm this character. You're kind of watching the events unfold. Does that make sense?
Okay. So,
I can see that.
and I mean, I remember the stuff we liked out of it was we had 3 Avengers teaming up with Jean Grey.
Yeah.
So when we
That's
have
pretty
our
cool.
Avengers fighting together, it would make sense to play 3 Avengers cards in a row, even if they're Hulk and Iron Man, because they find ways to team up, or you can see why those cards would work well together. So I can appreciate that aspect of it.
Which is why, like I was telling you before, I love fighting against Apocalypse because he brings the 4 horsemen in. And then just having all 4 of the horsemen on, then you see Apocalypse and you're just like, ah, shit. I know. But it's just like, you can't beat them because like the more they are on the field, they actually add additional like damage to the other ones as well.
True. Well, I mean, the way you felt about like actually controlling a hero is something, that's one reason why I prefer the DC deck builder.
Okay.
Because it's a really similar concept. The way that works is that, you've got a deck of villains, they're all DC, and then they're basically like the super villains. So you've got Joker, Deathstroke, Parallax. You've got a bunch of the super ones, and you have to fight them, but you have to build your deck first. But you start with a hero, so you can have, and like the starter, it's Superman, Batman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Aquaman,
okay.
and Martian Manhunter.
He was the promo card, yes.
Yes, but he's still there.
Yes.
So,
can't forget Martian Manhunter.
he's my favorite DC hero you
Except
can
everyone
ever
forgets
forget.
Martian Manhunter.
Which
Except
is
for John.
sad, because
Everyone
he's the best one. So you pick one of them, and they have their own special powers, and so during it, you acquire more cards, like more heroes, more villains, more items, and then you use them to fight against the villain.
Okay.
And so I can see where Legendary may be better in the sense that, like, when you grab the heroes, it seems like you're using them to work more against the villain as opposed to DC, where it's like, I'm going to buy, like, a villain and an item that Martian Manhunter he'd never use Green Arrow's bow, and then, like, a hero. But what they do really well is that you are actually that hero. Like, you've got their own powers to use, and you feel feel that personal connection, that sense of immersion into it. And I think that's what you were telling me you kind of prefer.
And it might just be personal preference. It might
Sure,
be that
right.
that's a bit more up my alley in terms of games. Also, is it the difference between Marvel and DC? Marvel's all about teaming up and different guys working together, and DC's about the development of the characters and
That's
stuff.
also very true, like what you were saying before about how the IP influences the game even more. It's
Yeah.
kinda like, that's how it's based. That's really awesome.
And you probably don't get that unless it is fans of the games making these games, fans of the IP making these games.
Mhm.
People have been there. So
Well, and then there was this really cool game I heard about on the flip side of that, on like being even more immersed in this character. It's a new one. Actually, Alex Barclay was the one who told me about this game. It's a new one coming out, and it's an RPG where like it's an apocalypse game, and there's 4 different types of apocalypse, and it's like the machines, aliens, zombies, and I'm gonna forget what the other one is. It's something else. But you are we're already in that one. We don't even know. But you play you, and
Really?
what you have in your house is what you have like access to, and you have to figure out how to like get shelter, get water, get all that support and stuff, and survive whichever apocalypse you are currently suffering.
What game is this? Because I think I may need to.
I was
I
like,
need to
sounds
check this
amazing.
one out.
So you'll have a review in a.
Because
couple
everyone
weeks.
has
Yeah,
that
right.
moment. Everyone has that moment. It's like where you're watching Walking Dead, and you're like, how would I do?
Oh
in
yeah,
this
that's
situation.
why.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it's a
Why people
perfect
watch.
answer to that question that even taps into IPs without officially being an
Well, you're
IP.
the IP then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess, which is really, really cool.
That is really cool.
Mhm.
So what was that called?
I do not know, and I will post it on the bottom of this video when I figure out what it is.
I've
I can't
never
remember.
heard of that game.
I am really intrigued. I wasn't expecting this to happen.
But yes, I will post it at the bottom
Cool.
because I'm really excited. I
Thank
wanna
you.
play it
Okay,
too.
cool. Because I do really want to know about that.
That sounds awesome.
Well, one of the ones that we really love is Sentinels and Multiverse.
Yes.
And you know more about that than I do.
Sure I do. Okay. But
Go ahead,
yeah. Sentinels
Big
of the
old man.
Multiverse. It's a really fun game. It's not actually based off of anything, but this fan made it in the idea of getting games based off of comic books. Because every single one of the cards in Sentinels of the Multiverse, all of the characters and all of their abilities have a little tag at the very bottom. It has a quote that they say, and then at the bottom it says from what issue, what comic, and everything. Even though those comics don't actually exist.
That's really cool.
I know,
Yeah.
I looked it up. They have one comic. They have their very first comic out. I want them to make more because the first one was actually really cool because the scenes from the comic are actually on the cards.
That's really cool.
The art is created from these comics that don't exist. But it's so great. It's about these superheroes that are fighting villains, much like the other games that we were discussing. Except you get a deck. The deck is solely for that one superhero. There are multitudes of expansions out. I think they just came out with their third one, sorry. Yeah, their third expansion, and there's coming out another one out in December. It's actually a huge following. They have over 4,000 pre-orders for this game that's not released until December, and that's impressive to me.
crazy.
They kickstarted it originally.
Yeah, no,
it was
a
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter brought it up, and like they've just been thriving ever since. But no, it's so much fun. It's great teamwork games. Because things like Marvel deck builder game and DC deck builder game, they both have this little like other alternative objective where it's just like whoever gets the most victory points is the best hero. And like your friends, even though they'll like be helping you defeat this villain, they're gonna be like, "I'm gonna take this card just because I know you want it." And I'm just like, "But we could defeat the villain." It's like,
No.
yes, but I get more points if I do this. And it's kind of awful. But like with Sentinels, you are a team, and either you guys beat the villain together, or you don't. And there are literal support cards in there, and like support characters. There's one of my favorite characters, Ardent Adept. He does like no damage, but he will heal you, he will make you stronger, he will defend against the other attacks. And there were definitely so many games where he was essential in winning that game. Also, it comes with like hit points, so like if you get damaged, you could die. Your character could die, you're fine.
Thank you for clearing that up, Dan.
That
Thank you for clearing that
clarification,
one up.
Jumanji?
I wanted to make sure that people know that this game is a game. But yeah, no. But no,
So
one of my
much on
favorite
cameras.
features is once your character gets KO'd, you flip your character card over, and it shows you the different things you can do on your turn. Like, you're still able to be a part of the game. You're still able to help, whether it's let another fellow character draw a card, use a power, whatever it is.
Cool.
You're
Yeah.
still
So you're helping
there.
them beyond the grave.
Exactly. You're
That's
basically being moral support or like helping them like push past and defeat the villain. And it's a brilliant game. Definitely one of my favorite games that I've ever played.
I think it works really well too because it uses a lot of recognizable characters.
Mhm.
Like not
Yeah.
in the sense where it's like anyone that you necessarily know, but like they've got the same
It's all the same
archetypes.
tropes.
Yeah, because there's someone called the Wraith, and she's essentially a female Batman, which is awesome. There's
Tachyon's Flash, right?
Tachyon's Flash.
Yeah.
Tempest is Piccolo.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, when you flip him over, his arm is actually like his left arm is actually like cut off, and he's holding it like this, just like Piccolo did on Namek. Like, it's pretty much right out
it's
of
so
that.
great.
And you've got Legacy, who's basically Superman.
You have Bunker, who's basically Iron Man War Machine.
Yep. So they use a lot of familiar ideas, and so I think that's another reason why I enjoy it so much too.
Oh yeah.
Well, and we didn't get to experience the card flipping portion when John and I played the other night.
We got
to-
crushed.
You
so-
lose immediately.
Ugh. I know.
Insta-death.
Yeah,
I think the bomb went off or whatever. Oh no, the moon got pulled into Earth.
the
Yeah.
moon got pulled
Tractor
into the
beam.
Earth when we were on the moon.
So
That would
And
end
You
yeah.
were just
So-
smashed in between the.
Yeah, and that's another reason why it's really cool too, is because the more heroes you use, the more fun it is. Because you and I play games where it's like
Oh,
we
yeah.
play with 2 heroes each.
yeah.
But we played with, you and I just picked one hero, and we got crushed. That also because of like unlucky card draws. But it's like the more heroes you use, the more fun it is.
I mean, I can only carry you so far, John.
Thank you, thank you. I don't think that was
Thanks for
necessarily
trying to
true.
help me out.
I know. Thank you. But your sympathy helps. Thank you. But the more people you have, the more fun it is for everybody because you feel like you're really, like what you said, uniting to achieve a common goal, which sounds
Oh,
way more dramatic for this game than I was intending.
Like,
No,
that's
it
hard.
really is. Like,
Yeah.
like especially like remember there are times that we fought. There's this character called the Matriarch. She summons these birds, and you will fear birds by the end of playing against her because you flip over a card. It says okay, it's a bird card. That means you have to flip over another card. If it's another bird card, you have to flip over another card. By the end of her turn, she has like 10 bird cards that you have to fight. And it's terrifying, but then you look to your teammate and you're like, okay, cool. So you can kill this by doing this, and then like you work together to find a way to get past those stupid birds to get to the Matriarch, and it's so much fun. It's such a cooperative game, and it's brilliant.
And I think that kind of brings up the point of why board games are cool is that you play with your friends.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid and simple.
True.
But give me a second here. You're exploring. Okay, so usually when you're exploring these IPs, the best chance you have of doing it with a group is to sit and watch a movie together, right?
Mhm.
You're still not talking, you're not engaging.
Yeah.
You're going to go sit in your room and read the comic by yourself, or even if you go do it, somewhere. No, you're going to. Right, you got your iPad, you're flipping through. So, board games and card games they're ways to explore the IP together. Where you're role playing the Firefly role playing game, and you're all trying to beam out at the same time. Or you're flipping cards and pretending you're different superheroes. And it's cool that you get to go find out these things about the universe and talk about them and find out that somebody else knows who Jack Porkins is and that you're both fans. So like, who knows, right? And it's I think that's the cool thing about it.
Yeah.
When you have the board games and the IPs, is the intersection and finding out what people like about it.
Which is also another thing about the digital age now, that it's still, as corny as it is, bringing people together over board games
Yeah.
rather than behind screens and stuff. Not to bash video games or anything, but
Yeah,
they're
true.
two different worlds.
We'll do that later.
Sure. Yeah. Well, speaking of board games and tabletop games, all these things, we actually had a question from Scott Emrine, and he asks, "What fictional game would you like to see created in the real world, i.e., Quidditch?"
We
So like,
Cool. So you talk about this. So you got this apparently.
this is kind of dropping it back to like as a kid. This has always been like one of my dreams. Is if Yu-Gi-Oh was actually a real life game. I would die to walk around with like the disc, the blade thing on my arm. Just meet somebody in the street and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna duel you," and they're like, "Yeah," and they just like start throwing down cards.
No, you don't do that.
Yes, you do.
No, you go.
Well, not even that.
Duel. That's how you do it, Dan.
Not everybody says it like that, John.
You're gonna be Yami.
I'm not gonna be
Oh
Yami.
my
I'm
God.
gonna be myself because this is real.
Real life, John.
Go, fine, whatever. Go summon your blue eyes white dragon.
But no, like it would just. There would be so. I would love it. It would
So
just
you
be
need to make
so
like
much
your own
fun.
little like LARPing community of people who are willing to like dress up as the different Yu-Gi-Oh characters.
I just-
Oh, that would be
creatures.
wonderful.
You just have like 30
just
people
throw cards
dressed
at each
up
other?
behind you.
That would be
No,
great.
Like you like get to feel like a badass and like pull the card out of here and like blue eyes white dragon go, and then there's like
And then
one
nothing
person comes out,
happens.
like comes out like with the awesome thing and they just like beat the crap.
No, but could you imagine like you're standing in a field, like you just see this army of people like
You do that.
dressed up as like these Yu-Gi-Oh characters behind you, and then across from you there's somebody else with an army of Yu-Gi-Oh characters behind them, and they're like blue eyes white dragon. And then you see this one person come out from the crowd and just like hop in front of them. And you're like
And then you're like, I activate my trap card!
and then he falls.
And then he falls down, yeah.
But like, could
I
you
think they
imagine?
do
like,
this somewhere.
We say it and it's out
If,
there already.
if you guys do that, please let me know.
That's gotta be a thing.
Send us a message.
That's gotta be a thing.
But like, especially with all the cosplayers and people who make this crazy stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I
if you
found your
have somebody
costume, Dan.
who makes like
Yeah, right.
electric weird
I just
lightning balls come
Yeah,
out of their
whatever
hand
it
or
is,
whatever.
yeah.
I can see it. I know it exists.
We'll find something.
we'll find you.
In the happy way possible, not the creepy Star
But yeah,
Wars
so
way.
that's our answer to your question. Do you guys have?
Oh, is that ours?
Would you rather go Digimon
No,
or
ours.
Pokemon?
We'll take credit
Oh,
for
that's
that.
yours.
I mean,
Okay.
if it was in between Digimon and Pokemon, I'd pick Pokemon. Just because
Right.
Digimon is just like, here's your one friend.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're
You only get one.
But no, it's true. It's just like Pokemon. You're like, yeah, I have all of these friends. Look at me hang out with my friends. Digimon. I loved Digimon. I watched all of the TV shows, even once they got bad. But no, it's always like, cool, I'm going to this digital world. Hey, I'm going to be your companion. It's like, cool. Do I get anybody else? Nope.
Wait,
No.
I got one. What about bring back Reboot?
But if that were
Reboot.
real...
Like a real
It'd
game.
be a different game every time.
Actually,
No,
yeah,
no,
that's
but
true.
would we be in Reboot or would
Oh, we'd
Reboot
be running around
actually be
Bob, yeah.
real?
No, we'd be in.
Wait, would we be Bob or would we be like the user?
Because I think
Did
we'd be...
Bob have a bunch of friends that ran around with him? That...
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we'd
it is,
still
like
be the
Enzo and
user.
Doc,
Like,
yeah.
the way that I'm viewing it is, like, we're still real people.
Mhm.
But these things are actually available for us. So if it was Reboot, I feel like that'd be like,
Don't we
in
just
your
play Reboot all the
computer...
time anyways?
in your computer, Reboot is happening, but we don't know.
I believe you already answered your question.
I'm
Dan.
sorry, John.
So,
I'm sorry. I'll stop talking
Are we
now.
going to
He said
Reboot?
he's excited
I
about
was gonna
this.
say, are we going with Reboot?
No, I might go
Because-
Digimon.
Okay, cool. Then I'll go. Then I'll go Reboot then.
Okay.
Because I loved that show when I was younger.
Wait, can I say Pod Racer?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, Pod
I want a
Racer.
pod.
I mean,
That's
that's
a good
Quidditch.
one.
Why can't we have pod
I
racers?
want Pod Racer.
There are
Yeah.
many reasons why we can't have Pod Racer.
You know.
They're two big coils that have an electric
Oh.
beam in between. I think that's the biggest reason.
There are many reasons why we can't have that yet, Tessa. But yeah, oh man,
Not
Reboot.
complete and utter
If I could just play a game against a user and be a guardian,
Okay.
not care if
I think that's my wish in life.
I guess it's true.
I think it's my goal in life is to be a guardian. One day it'll happen. If I find a genie, that's what I'll wish. So,
Good for you.
thank you.
Wouldn't you wish all the evils of the Guardians on the universe as you do that?
I don't know. I think we're delving too much into this. Wizard chess is another one I think would be pretty cool.
Oh yes, that already exists though. I think. Well, at least at like Renaissance fairs, they have like live chess and stuff.
Yeah, but that's.
I feel like that.
I feel like.
counts.
Well, I mean, like,
Sorta.
no, I want like the
Don't they do
really.
that at rich people's like mansions? Over there.
It's the only time I've seen it. I mean, I really want the.
Drag all you nerds to a Renaissance festival, make you real nerds.
I'm okay
We'll
with
make it
that.
happen.
I mean,
I just want.
I've been to a Scottish Highland Festival games.
Okay, then you.
That's
make
a
me
little different, but
It's so much fun. Though.
I mean, I just want like in Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone, like legitimate
Oh.
wizard's chess. You're like riding a horse if you're a knight.
I always wondered what.
Of course, then again, like something like,
Bad things will happen.
if a queen can like stab your horse while you're on it, then that may not be.
My pod racing idea is totally safe, but that sounds dangerous.
It's totally
So
safe.
half the people died. Most of the people died in pod racing. Wasn't Anakin and what's his name the only man?
That's why he
Sebulba.
got first.
Sebulba.
Symbol.
Yes.
That's how you win. You killed everybody
Kill
else.
everyone.
Yeah.
That's why we came to pod racing. It's not the technology. It's the
The
murder.
death.
Yeah, that would.
Is it
Yeah.
a movie just called Death Race?
Yeah, that is called Death Race.
There's two of them. There's two of them.
There's
No,
two.
no.
Well,
there
there's
are 3 of them.
multiple.
I said, oh god.
Wait, like the old series of David
don't
Carradine.
I don't think what's his name made it to 3 though. I don't think Stratham made it to 3.
Yeah, Jason Statham didn't.
Yeah.
David Carradine was in like 2 or 3 though.
Oh god.
But so yeah, so that's the answer to your question.
David Carradine.
Congratulations, you got us all rant at each
Deal.
other.
Well,
It's not that hard.
well, speaking of board games and like which ones we'd like to see, do we have a board game that we'd recommend to to the people watching us?
I mean, like as like a starting board game, or are we talking about
A board
like,
game that
something
you
like-
want that you think people would enjoy, like your favorite Sentinels.
that one?
All right, cool.
Get it and its expansions. I honestly do believe that the expansions are definitely worth it. Because you'll get the game, you'll get, I don't know how many it comes with. I haven't played the original in a while. But every expansion, you get more heroes, you get more villains, and the variety that you guys can have it's really great. It's a great fun game, and off of that, if you don't want like a big game, just get a small game like Super Fight. What Super Fight is, it's basically apples to apples with superheroes and superpowers, and you can play King of the Hill, and it's so much fun. It's a great party game. It's a great laughing, fun time game with your friends.
Not even that too. Super Fight, isn't it also just like they'll give you like random things like 13 ninjas with like peg legs.
That are 10 stories tall.
Yeah, against like a cheerleading squad with supersonic screaming,
Oh my god.
but they're like scared of water. And
Or
it's
they're
like
made of butter.
yeah, something like, yeah, they're made of butter. And it's
Yeah.
like who would win? Go. Like that's basically the game.
Okay.
But it's a great like way to kind of dip your feet into like the zany board games that are out
Oh,
there.
yeah. But yeah, that's my recommendation.
Sentinels also.
It's
If you
$3.
like Big Lebowski, they have a character based on the dude
Yes.
called the Scholar.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Like, he's holding a bowling ball and he's like in a bathrobe.
That's him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like actually him, but it's him.
Yeah. But yeah,
Well, that whole game is like that.
Sentinels of the Multiverse definitely gets
Sure.
3 out of 3 boxes. Definitely.
All right, with the other one.
I do. I actually played it last night. No, the night before. It's Death to Dr. Lucky. It's actually like reverse Clue. The doctor moves through the rooms of the house, and you have to find a way to kill him before everybody else in the house kills him. So it's also like a maneuvering and strategy game, but it's also like a backstabby game because like you don't want them to win before they do. So you have like failure cards, and you like throw them down to keep these other people from like winning. It's just really, it's a lot of fun, and it was a very unique style of game, and I really liked it a lot.
We almost played it once. I
Yes.
want to play it, so I'm gonna have to.
Well,
Because I also have that, and they also make sure you don't confuse that with
Save
Dr. Lucky.
Save Dr. Lucky.
Different.
Yeah, because they have like Kill
I haven't
Dr.
played that
Lucky, and then they've got Save Dr. Lucky.
Yeah, same
So-
creator but different game.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
don't confuse yourself on
Yeah,
that.
I've only played Death to Dr. Lucky. No.
So okay.
But yeah, I'll give that one a 2.5 out of 3.
All
That's
right.
That's
right.
what I will give it.
Well, then I guess I'll go. Mine was probably gonna be Sentinels, but since Dan took it,
Sorry.
curse you. I'm probably gonna go with Coup.
Oh.
And it's a simple card game. It takes about 10 minutes tops per round. And the way it works is that you've got all these different types. You've got you're gonna tell me out with this. It's the Contessa, the Assassin, the Duke, the Dude, this is very helpful.
Admiral or the commander? Or
The captain.
The captain.
Captain.
And then the one that trades himself.
Yes. The
Ambassador.
Yeah, Ambassador.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
And so, so the way it works is that each player gets 2 cards, and you put them face down. And it's a little bit like poker in the sense that you're bluffing about what you have, or you can tell the truth about what you have. And the point is that you want to be the last one standing. So assassins, you collect money each turn if you can, and you can pay the assassin to assassinate someone, but the Contessa can block it. And so, like, let's say that Tessa had an assassin, and I had a Contessa, and she was going to assassinate me. She'd be like, "I'm going to assassinate you," and I'd be like, "I have a Contessa," and I could lie about it, even if I didn't have one, I could lie about it. But she'd be like, "I challenge," and then if I flip it over and I do have one, then she loses a card. But if I was lying and she guessed my bluff, then I would lose a card. So so it's a really fun game. It's
quick.
Yeah, it's quick. It's like 10-minute rounds, but you can play them over and over and over again, and it's a lot of fun to see which one of your friends likes to lie and which ones like to tell the truth.
So much fun.
Yeah.
It will surprise you too, who lies and who doesn't. I find in games.
I actually think. Were you the one that lied a lot? Yeah, you lied a lot, and I told the truth.
Yeah, but it was so.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't have guessed.
It was so much fun because it gives you so much leeway because especially if you lie during one game and then they'll expect you to lie during the next game and you just do the exact same thing, then everybody's just like, wait, hold on. I challenge you, and then you actually have the card, and they're like, no!
It's like, oh!
Especially,
why?
there's one card, the Duke, that allows you to take three coins every turn. I swear, every time we played, everybody, just went around. We had 4 people. There were 3 of each card. First person, I take 3. Second person, I take 3. Third person, I take 3. Fourth person, I take 3. Wait, one of you is lying. It's such a fun game.
It's a really enjoyable game, especially good if you don't know a whole lot about board games or card games and you just want to get started. That's a great way to start because the rules aren't that complex and you can, it takes 15 minutes to go through them and then just you can, they have cards where it tells you how everything works and it's just a lot of fun to play with friends even if you're not necessarily into the board game scene or super nerdy board games like Firefly or Legendary, things like that. So I guess I'll give it 2.5 out of 3 boxes. So
we got him.
You look so smug, Dan. You look so smug.
You used the box breaking.
I'll give it 2.5 not boxes out of 3 not boxes.
I like it.
So thank you. Do you have one? I think I know what you're gonna say.
Well, I'm gonna go more PSA route here.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Being a local gamer and loving the local game stores, I just have to do a little shout out to them and say that find out who in your area, find out where these stores are, and go visit them.
True.
They're friendly people, and they love this stuff. They love board gaming. They love tabletop stuff. So it's hard to tell somebody over over a recording, this is the perfect game for you. Because you're going to be wrong for most people, but you're going to be absolutely right for somebody. And if you go talk to somebody in person who has played these games, is familiar with them, who has at least read the reviews or bought them themselves and is trying to sell them now, they'll have the knowledge to help you figure out what is the right, what's the right game for you, or what's a good try, what's something to give a chance to. And you could find a new hobby that way. You could find new friends that way that like to play these things. Most local game stores have a board game night once or twice a week, Wednesday nights or Friday nights or whatever it turns out to be. You can go try out these games without buying them. Other people bought them because they want to play them, and they were looking for people to play with.
Exactly.
So that's kind of my big PSA suggestion is give local game stores a chance.
Yeah. And just real quick, we're pretty much filming this in the UCF area, University of Central Florida. And if you're watching this and you're in that area, definitely go look up the game stores there because there's I can think of 4, at least 4 different, right by UCF.
Oh yeah.
So right by UCF you have Campus Cars and Games. Down the road you have Mini Duels. You have Cool Stuff Games not too far away. Who's actually an online distributor, but they have 4 or 5 locations in Central Florida. And
Cloak and Blaster.
Cloak and Blaster's a pub.
It's a
and they have board games.
Pub, yeah.
The Game Academy is right across the street from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
do card games.
Well then,
Paladin is over in Avalon Park. All kinds of, and again, that's just East Orlando by UCF.
Yeah.
So wherever you are, you're going to find some sort of game store that could come, and you don't just have to get stuff at Target and then go wrangle up a couple of people to play with you. Go out and meet people who love these games too and give that a try. The game I'm going to suggest is a co-op game because co-op games don't get the love that they deserve.
True.
That's
It's called Pandemic. You will Okay.
When I was at DragonCon, I swear everyone in my group spent the entire weekend trying to beat Pandemic.
It can be hard. But
It's
Entirely
brutal.
It's
but
so much
Till
fun.
like 7 o'clock in the morning.
All right, let him explain Pandemic.
So
Yeah.
Pandemic is it's a cooperative board game. You work with your friends as a team of different individuals with skills who are trying to stop an outbreak of a couple different diseases throughout the world. So it's going to look like a chess or a risk board, and you're going to start putting cubes down that represent viruses, and then your pieces will move around the board. Somebody will be a medic. Somebody will be a
Operations manager.
operations manager, exactly. Somebody's a military or a soldier, and you all have different roles you're performing to try and contain the outbreak. And they give you different abilities, whether it's you can help heal cities quicker, or you can contain the outbreak, or you can move around quicker, or help others move quicker. Maybe you're the chopper operator or something like that. And it is nice to work in a cooperative environment with people. I mean, I can actually get my wife to play with me, and because she won't, she's not a gamer. She's not somebody who does this, but she'll sit down and play that game with me because we get to work together. So that's Pandemic's my suggestion, and it's expandable. There's a couple expansions for it now, 3 or 4 at this point.
Oh, wow, they have that many?
I think, including the base game, I think there's 4.
Okay.
And it's kind of feels like is it Outbreak is the name of the movie with the monkey and they're trying to. It's probably a little dated reference, but
No, I think I think you're right.
you're stopping an epidemic of these different diseases break out. It is hard. I'm not gonna. It's not like unbeatably hard, but the first couple times you play, you might not succeed.
But you feel more challenged, I feel like, than anything
It
else.
makes you get the game back out because you don't just beat it once and go, why bother? You know?
Cool.
Oh, Tessa.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this game.
I didn't win!
But again, I love the aspect that you're getting together with your friends to play it. It's a group effort, so that's going to be my suggestion is Pandemic. I think it's Z-Man Games, and you can find it at the big box stores.
Yeah.
They're waiting on you to give your
My
box
box
score.
rating.
Your box
I would-
rating.
2.87 boxes.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Out of 3 boxes.
Out of 3 boxes.
Out of 3 boxes.
These are real boxes.
It's
These
very
are not
close to being
boxes.
Not boxes.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
They're boxes.
So they're normal boxes.
Yep.
All right. Well, on that note, I think it's time for some comic reviews, real quick, because we weren't able to do that last week.
Okay, yes.
So,
I'll make them snappy for you.
actually, you know what? We started with you. Do you have a comic? You did have a comic book you wanted to talk about, right?
I have a comic book I could talk about.
Well, you can totally do that if you want.
You don't need to go like too deep into it. Just
No, it goes deep enough, right? So I've only read a handful of comics in my time. Like I'm here as the tabletop guy, right? I'm not the comic guy. So my review has to be of either Watchmen or Sandman by Neil Gaiman. So I'm going to go Sandman and say, if you haven't read this, it's a classic for a reason. Go get it. It's beautiful, and give it a chance. You probably have to get through a volume or 2 before it really hits its stride. But if you like Neil Gaiman's storytelling, if you've ever read any of his stuff or seen him in any of his stuff, you'll obviously like this. He gets to go deep on different mythologies and talk about the kind of build his own mythology with Sandman, who is Dream, and there's Death and the other characters. And of the few, I don't pick up comics unless I know they're going to be great, and that one was definitely great. So obvious review is obvious, but because I have it, I'm going to say it. Go get Sandman.
How many boxes?
That's all 3.
Awesome.
Oh,
Perfect.
nice.
All right. So, because I wasn't able to talk about it last week, I'm actually going to talk about Original Sin number 8 out of 8 by Jason Aaron and Mike Deodato, who did the artistry in it. And this kind of concludes the whole storyline with Original Sin, that whole special event thing, and it's all right. The whole thing was building up really well, but the later issues have seemed like they've been artificially stretched out. Almost because the past few issues have just been like Black Panther and Stephen Strange, Gamora, and a bunch of others, and Nick Fury just standing in Nick Fury's rocket base on the moon, or his rocket ship on the moon, pretty much, and just talking. about what he's done, and they're like, "You're a bad person." He's like, "Well, yes, I am, but I did it to save the Earth." They're like, "Well, you're still a bad person." And so that's like basically all the past issues have been, and it started really well with all these twists and turns, and this one kind of ends with almost a thud. Because my main problem with it was that the villain is Dr. Midas, an exterminatrix, and the Orb, who's basically this guy who's got a giant eyeball for a head, and he can activate.
Weird cousin.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he can activate the Watcher's eyeballs and see all the knowledge that's there, and it. Those villains weren't in it a lot, and you don't really understand why it's like Dr. Midas and Exterminatrix as opposed to like Doctor Doom or like Magneto. Like, why it couldn't have just been them instead?
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't really understand why they're there. They're not given a whole lot of space to really create themselves. And, the ending's just kind of weird. I'll let you guys figure out what the ending is, but it didn't seem like it had to be this huge special event that evolved all these Avengers characters.
Right.
If there's one thing or two things that they do really well, Mike Deodato's art is awesome. It's really great in this. He's got these big giant battles and these big galactic space shots and really great artwork, great coloring on it too, and also I'm more excited about the fallout from it.
Yeah.
Because the one thing you do see in last issue was that Nick Fury actually dishonored Thor, so now Thor can't pick up his hammer, so that sets that up.
All really excited about.
Yep, and
October 1st.
exactly, and then I'm not gonna say who, but someone takes up Nick Fury's mantle, being the man at the wall, and that seems really exciting too. I think that's gonna be really great. I think it's gonna be a great arc for this character. So the fallout's way more interesting than the actual payoff. So I guess I would give Original Sin 8 of 8. I'm gonna give it 1.5 boxes out of 3. So.
Mine is actually a new ongoing series called Copperhead, and it's very Firefly-ish, but it's like as far as like the world is built, but it's a little darker. It's about this woman and her son. She's a single mother, and it starts out with them on a train to a new city. It's unclear whether the town is called Copperhead or whether the planet is called Copperhead. I believe it's just the town. But she's moving to this town to be a sheriff in this town full of aliens, and essentially a murder happens already. And I don't really want to talk about it anymore because it's more just about how they build her as a character that just grabbed me immediately, and I was like, I'm gonna love watching her like grow and kick major ass. And her deputy, I'm gonna say his name wrong, Bodroxophinicus. I don't know.
I wonder why.
Because she calls him,
How could you say that wrong,
How?
Tessa?
Obvious.
she calls him Boo, and he's like, no. But she keeps calling him that because she can't pronounce it either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I already love her. I already love her kid, which normally like little kids in comics, everyone knows Carl, and they're just like, oh god. But I already love this kid, and I already love all the characters I've seen so far. So I can't wait to see how it develops as goes on. I'm gonna give it 2.5 out of 3 boxes just because I don't know where it's going yet. After issue 2.
It's so hard to rate ongoing series.
Like, especially the first issue, I'm like, I want to give it a 3, but I mean, you
can
know.
rate the first issue without
Sure.
rating the whole series.
Sure.
I'll give it a 3 then. 3 out of 3 boxes.
For the first
Okay.
issue.
Boom.
All right.
Alright, and mine is also an ongoing series that I'm going to be talking about. It's the current Marvel's Magneto series, which, I love Magneto because he's one of those characters that...
Hell yeah.
No, well, I love villains that are so justified in themselves. Like, I am doing this for the betterment of my kind.
For the greater good.
And for the greater good.
And to be fair, he kind of is.
And
Just not in the best way.
exactly, he's not doing it the best way, but he's so righteous in the fact that he believes that what he's doing is the right thing. And is essentially a good guy villain. And seeing that development is great. I've never read a villain's main title comic before, so seeing that darker side where it's just like, you're seeing things from his perspective. You're seeing him like in one of the first couple comics, I think it was the second issue, he helps out this small town by like stopping these bandits, and he kills them terribly. But he helps them and makes them happy and makes them safe. And it's really, really interesting how the dialogue goes because something happened and Magneto's powers aren't as strong as they used to be. So he's dealing with his own internal conflict of he's not able to be as strong to protect the people that he needs to protect, as well as him going through, he goes through the security point, kills a bunch of security guards because he can and they're in his way. So watching all of that develop and unfurl is absolutely stunning and beautiful and like ridiculously incredible. I definitely give this ongoing series, since I'm doing a couple different ones, as of now, a good 2.5 out of 3 boxes.
All right. Well, there we go. Pretty much good across the board, except for Original Sin. So, well, sorry, Marvel. Maybe next time.
But look out for the fallout of Original Sin. Definitely check it out.
Yes.
And March to Axis, which is their next big event.
Yes. Oh, that's gonna be.
I'm so excited.
I'm intrigued about that. We'll talk about that more in the coming weeks.
Yep.
But that being said, it is now time to talk about the Little Box. So this week, I believe in the Little Box, we are putting Destiny, the
Yes.
video game, in the Little Box. Would you like to explain why, Dan?
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna pass the buck to you all evening.
I am explaining everything today. It makes me feel smart. But no, Destiny, great game. So great that it's taking all of our friends away.
I haven't seen anybody this week.
Please come back. Come back to us.
Or beat it already.
We
Be
miss
easier.
you.
You can't beat it.
Beat the MMO. That's
Yeah.
it. You
Yes.
can't do that. It's like beat Halo.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I know.
That being said, if any of you would like to let us play Destiny, we would gladly join.
If there was anyone out there that would like to buy us a PlayStation 4 and Destiny to tide us over until Super Smash Bros.
We'll take it out of the box.
Yes, we'll take
Destiny
We'll
out of the box.
Yeah. But if you
all
want to
it
buy us that until Super Smash Brothers comes out
Just
on
post
3DS
on
in like 3 weeks.
So excited.
I'm so excited for
My
that.
life will be gone.
We're gonna talk about that too.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And we'll put Dan in a little box for Smash Brothers.
How many sick
Yes.
days do you think were called in on Tuesday?
Oh, so many.
I don't want to talk about
So many.
But yes, Destiny in the little
A lot.
box. Give us our friends back.
Yes, please. So, I believe that is all we have for this episode. We actually went a little long, so look at that. Woo. So,
Bonus content.
I know bonus content, so good luck trimming this all down to a 20-minute YouTube video,
Oh my
Dan.
God. I remember we started being like, yeah, we're gonna
cut out
like
all the Dan parts.
15 we're gonna make 15-minute YouTube videos. I can't do that. We'll make them 20 minutes.
You can do anything in post, right?
Shut up, John.
You can do anything
You
in
can make
post,
them
bro.
25
Well, and
minutes.
your listeners understand that you have an hour-long podcast, and then you have a 20-minute video, right?
Yes.
So if you're watching the video, go get the rest of the content and listen to it.
Exactly.
Oh,
And
most definitely.
speaking
I
about,
I actually missed that the first week.
Oh, really?
Totally honest.
Oh, no.
So
well, then we're gonna have to fix that then.
Yes.
And we actually have. So speaking of which, thank you for that brilliant segue. We are now on iTunes, as we said earlier. We're also on Pocket Casts. So we're working on getting on more places. If you have a podcasting site or an app that you want us to be on, tell us, and we'll work on trying to get on there. But right now, iTunes and Pocket Casts are the main one.
Yes.
Go
Sound-
subscribe.
SoundCloud? What's the one?
Dan's doing all that SoundCloud stuff.
That's what I've been using. It's been great.
Yeah.
SoundCloud.
Yeah, check out SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
Yes. So, well, then I guess SoundCloud, iTunes, Pocket Casts. Go check us out. Go subscribe, please. That'd be
YouTube.
really great. We're gonna have new stuff up every week.
Yeah.
So be sure to download us. And actually, next week is gonna be interesting. We're hopefully gonna have a video for you. The only reason
Oh, we will.
we will.
We'll create something for you guys.
The reason is because next weekend we're going to be at Mythicon. So that is going to be at the Doubletree by Hilton at SeaWorld. So that's over in the, well, I guess it's kind of in the Orlando area, by the theme park Orlando
it's
area.
Orlando.
Exactly. So we're going to be there hosting panels on Saturday and Sunday, September 20th and the 21st. On Saturday, September 20th at 3 o'clock in panel room 2. We're going to be doing our Guardians of the Galaxy and Beyond podcast, or panel that we had actually done earlier. But we're going to have a lot of audience questions. And
Yes.
That's really great. It's having that
So
audience
much
fun.
interaction. It's the best part. Hint, hint. And then at 7 o'clock in the same room, we're also going to be doing Marvel Expanding the Universe. We're going to be talking about how Guardians of the Galaxy will expand the Marvel universe, but also how the other movies that they're going to be talking about, that they're going to be releasing, can also affect how that's going to play out. And then on Sunday at 2 o'clock in the same panel room too, we're going to be doing a panel that we did at Tampa Bay Comic-Con called Cult TV Phenomenon. It's all about cult TV shows, why they're not necessarily popular to the mainstream, but why they have this huge loyal following, and how they can be a really good thing for a show.
And hopefully we'll be able to be filming that one to show to you guys later.
Yes, and if not, we'll come up with some kind of new content for you guys that Dan can edit.
Surprise
and post.
content.
Yeah, we'll have some kind of surprise content for you guys. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be updating you. As a reminder, we're hopefully going to be doing something for when we hit 500 likes. I think, other than that, hang on, before I forget, thank you, Kyle, for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
It was a lot of fun.
It was so great to have you. And
Oh yeah, he's on the box.
I was going to say, it was so great to have you that we drew you on the box. We drew you on the box, throwing dice. Well, kind of at Stephanie, but...
I'm sure she'll catch him with her sonic
You just have to get someone else on to draw them in the way.
Exactly, we'll find somebody.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody. It could be you.
That was awkward.
Hello. A little bit.
The 90s moment came. It happened.
Exactly. So, but thank you so much for being on the show. This was absolutely great.
That's a lot of fun. I listen every week, and I'm looking forward to more of it.
We would love to have you back.
Sweet.
So, that being said, I think that's everything. So, thank you everyone for tuning in again. We'll give you guys a little roundup. I'm John Dwyer.
Tessa Barlotta.
Dan Kiefer.
And guest Kyle Wilkerson.
And thank you so much for joining us this week. Stay tuned all this week and next week for content. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Hope to see you at Mythicon.
Be there.
Or be square.
Oh God.
Or be a box.